Greetings, everyone. Welcome to the Founding Fathers War Council, along with Mad Max Movie Talks. We're just waiting on everyone else to come on in here.
Hey.
Do I have my own open? Oh, my God. Damn, I usually have that muted. I closed my browser and it doesn't have it muted anymore. Oh, well. That's okay. That's why I'm the rookie critic. But anyway, so we're just waiting on everybody else to come on in here shortly. Star Wars Only, Black Angus, and Sith Kryptonian. But in the meantime, let's have our War Council guest co-host. We'll just call you for now, since we might rotate on different channels. Co-host at the moment. Introduce yourself, Mad Max.
Hey, I'm ready for this War Council. I can't wait to talk to people with different opinions. This is exciting. I hope Star Wars Only gets in here. I can't wait to talk to him. I've been watching his videos lately. Good stuff. Real excited for this.
Hell yeah. And I know most people around here already know you, but let's introduce yourself, Flipp Doubt. It's been a little while, so refresh everyone's memory.
Sure. Hey, everybody. Flipp here. I cover pop culture news, do reactions, do reviews. Hold your mouth right, I might do use. I craft twits and bits, create skits, and don't give two shits about Kathleen Kennedy or the failing Disney. You don't like that? Well, that is me. Yo, to my friends, like, here's a shout out. You want to hang out with your fangs out? Click on Flipp Out.
Nice.
All right, and Geoff TheIronWolf.
Actually, Star Wars Only just waltzed on in, so pass it over to him first.
Woo! Oh, hey, what's up, man?
Hello there.
How's it going? Should we call you Star Wars or call you Only?
Either way, Only is probably a little easier to remember.
All right. Well, since you've arrived around here right on time, why don't you introduce yourself, man?
Name's Star Wars Only. I run Star Wars Only on Instagram and YouTube. I don't know what my niche is other than recovering the news and documentaries, I guess. That's mainly what I've been doing lately. So, yeah, I just try to be the most honest Star Wars YouTube channel out there right now, because I feel like, at least when I started, there was a lack of honesty in the community, but recently things have been kicking up.
Well, that's good, man. That's good. Yeah, we'll go into a plethora of topics, Star Wars being a big one of them, but just rounding off the panel here, Geoff TheIronWolf, howl to the audience, buddy.
Yeah,
well, I didn't introduce your channel, but you know. Okay.
No, Geoff TheIronWolf. I cover kind of what's over on my mind. I'm basically the hardcore Harry. If you don't understand that reference, go watch the damn movie. But I'm basically that guy for the Founding Fathers. I cover whatever the hell goes on my mind, and, well, you guys watch it. So there it is.
All right, awesome. Well, so I'm not sure what topics you guys want to talk about first. What do you guys want to do? We got quite a few on the list here. We could go into the Star Wars stuff, or Area 51, James Bond, Scarlett Johansson, plenty of different things. But, you know, I want my guests, you know, Star Wars Only. What do you feel like doing?
Honestly, I'm the guest, so I'll let you guys pick your poison. I'll talk about anything. I used to study Area 51 back in the day. I already knew who Bob Lazar was before that documentary came out. So I could talk about that all you want, and Star Wars any day of the week. So pick your poison.
All right, that's quite a bit there.
Oh, 51er.
Let's go 51. Why not?
Oh, before we go into that, another member just popped on in. Introduce yourself, our diversity person.
Yeah, I am Black Angus, and Angus of color, and just to put it simply, I am the diversity.
It's here.
Yeah, you're a little bit behind the power curve on that one, buddy.
Oh yeah. And all right, so is that your intro, Angus?
Yeah, everyone's
very short. Yeah, that's true. But all right, so since you just popped in, do you want to talk about you know, Area 51 or some of that Scarlett Johansson stuff? I know you got a lot of that stuff going on in your mind there. You got the James Bond thing, some episode stuff, Sith Troopers.
Well, yeah, I'll say this, and we can get in deeper later. That's what she said. With Black James Bond, one, the bitch is mannish looking. She's not even an attractive black lady to gender/race swap. The beloved 007, which is James Bond. But also, it's funny. It's funny because some people are arguing like, "Oh, Ariel, like, as long as she has red hair, who cares? It's like, what? That's weird. Secondly, people would say, oh, it's a kid's movie. It's not that big a deal. Now you got 007 getting race and gender swapped. Now everyone's finally, and what's funny too is she's from Captain Marvel, a Disney product, with L337 as part of the writing team from Disney. And I've pointed out before in a video a bunch of Disney connections with all these weird turns. So maybe now it'll start to click for people that boycotting is the answer.
I have a lot to say on this one.
Oh boy.
I'm boycotting it, but not for the reasons that have come out recently. I'm boycotting it because Daniel Craig. I actually think it's not the worst way to do it because she's not actually Jane Bond, which was our worst fear. And we thought they'd do. She's 007, and then she might be moved off. But the issue is there's no way they're going to have her take on the 007. Because Daniel Craig is supposed to be retired, or James Bond's supposed to be retired in this one, and then come back, and then have the white guy save the day at the end. That's the only issue. So it's going to be, of course, all the normal PC stuff in there, but the way they actually introduce her, I'm not too completely against. I'm just boycotting because Daniel Craig said he'd rather slit his wrist with a champagne bottle than do another James Bond, and if he ever came back, it would be for the money, and I don't support that at all.
Well, Max, here's something that a couple of people brought up, and I actually looked up the Moonraker book. The thing is, the 007 title is he's the 7th 00. He's the 7th person to be given the title of and the ability of a license to kill. Mm-hmm. It's so for her to come in, she'd be a different 00. She'd be like 0010, 011, 0012. It's not a title that just gets bounced along. No, you're the 7th, you're the 8th, you're the 9th.
I don't know, Jeff. It seemed that they I don't know all the lore. I've only seen the first 4 in the Daniel Craig films.
I've seen every single one. That's the way it's explained in Moonraker.
Yeah. Okay, so what it appeared to me watching, it might be a retcon of a minor retcon to fit this narrative. I'm not sure. Walk me through, but I understood that the titles like 00, M, Q, those are just like, that's a title like Hand of the King. Oh, look, Hand of the King died. We don't make like Foot of the King. It's still Hand of the King.
Well, but the thing is, it's a title that goes with that person. Like, if the 7th one dies, you get the 8th. If the 8th one dies, you get the 9th. Kind of like, Henry the 1st, Henry the 2nd, Henry the 3rd, Henry the 4th.
Okay. What if they retire, though?
Same deal.
Same. Okay.
I don't know. Oh, yeah, it just seemed that, because Ralph Fiennes came in, and he's like the new M. That's why I'm like, oh, I was fine with someone else taking the number per se, but it's clearly an agenda with this casting. It's not genuine.
Well, Angus, I'm of the point of I'm kind of like you. I don't care if a new agent comes in to take over after James Bond retires. Doesn't bother me at all. As long as she isn't James Bond, do not care.
Star Wars only. Are you a huge 007 fan?
I haven't seen a single fucking movie.
Yeah. You're more in my boat, man. I might have seen some of them, but nah.
Yeah, I grew up in a rough area, so 007 was not like the top of the agenda when it came to what movies we want to watch and everything.
That my mother made me watch 007, and I'm kind of glad she did. My favorite is GoldenEye for the simple fact of the final girl James Bond ends up with is named Pussy Galore.
Hey, didn't they have in that GoldenEye, didn't they also have a 006 in that one?
Yeah, and in Thunderball, you actually see every single 00 that is alive and on duty. There's like 6 of them.
Well, I think we can all agree that it's a big disappointment they didn't cast her as 00 Sassy. I think that would be it would be very
that was good.
Inclusive.
That was good, Angus.
Rookie, really quick. How many people do you have watching?
There's like 20.
Nice. Well, just informing you, there's 20 in the chat plus a random grody alley cat that just laid on my driveway watching me. So
Oh, that's interesting. Nice. It's funny. Why do they always call them 00 blank
Grody.
for their agents in James Bond?
Well, the 00 is basically just the designation that they have the license to kill. And you also have to remember, 00s come from a very, very, very small pool of people. It's not like, they have this gigantic pool of people that they pull from and then you're 00. No, you're like the elite of the elite, secret agents.
Okay.
Yeah, I'll tell y'all both this for people that haven't watched James Bond. I didn't grow up with it. I found it because Casino Royale. I'm like, hey, let me watch this. Got it at the pawn shop, and I was like hooked. Had to see Quantum Solace. Then when I was in the army and training, Skyfall came out. So like we were all, in our militaries. We went to the theaters, like a row of 10 of us. Like, you got to see Bond. And same with Spectre. When you see Bond, especially Daniel Craig, for me, that's my favorite. You just go there and it's like, wow, I should get better clothes. It makes you want to be better.
Angus, you want to see the best Bond? You watch Connery. That man was cool before cool was a thing.
I'd agree with that.
So this chick isn't as cool?
No.
Oh God,
man! Dr. No was like the first VCR tape I ever got.
Okay, hey guys, compared to that woman right there, Grace Jones was a better Bond girl, and I did not like Grace Jones.
And no one was back when Grace Jones came in. No one was saying, "Oh, look at this powerful female figure." She just was,
Yeah.
It wasn't a big deal.
Yeah. That was back in the Roger Moore era. Roger Moore era was kind of meh for me. And Octopussy, yeah, I'm with Razor Fist. I can never watch that movie ever again.
Well, Angus, if you like Craig, what did you think about his that just totally put me off. That's for anyone when they start acting like that about their job. Like, just leave then. He held up the franchise till now. Just to come back to kill off to hand it off to this new one.
Max. Yeah, no, it's disappointing for sure, but I don't know. I'm of the stance where I kind of get it. I'm wondering like what his deal was as far as like contract with Bond, especially after Skyfall, how much they maybe locked him in for. Because it's pretty clear, when you watch Spectre, it's like, all right, there's at least one more story in this guy. But I'm aware because he's also a producer, and so he's like racking his mind of like, what the hell do I do with Bond? Because we're in this era, like after the era of special features being added to DVDs and Mythbusters. It's really hard to wow people, especially with Bond, because they do all this on Mythbusters, like, oh, you can't really do that with an ejector seat and a parachute, And so it gets in people's minds, and then you lose the ability to wow people, to put it simply. And so I totally get it, where it's like, all right, how do I stay faithful to this book series, but readapt it to a modern era and shock you with the tech? Because, and so you see, I think it's either Skyfall or Spectre, where it's like, yeah, you got a pen, you got a phone, you got a car. There's nothing really special about it.
Well, Angus, you have to understand, this is 25 movies in. We've practically seen everything. I mean, in Moonraker, James Bond goes to space and fights with freaking laser guns. We've seen it all.
Ron Review suggests that they should have cast Leslie Jones instead.
Now I'd go see that one.
No, what you need is no. Honestly, for James Bond, what they needed wasn't Daniel Craig. They needed someone in their late 20s, early 30s to play Bond, and play Bond like Sean Connery did for almost 2 decades.
I don't know. I really think it was a misstep to not. They gave her writing credit, but they really should have cast Phoebe as L3 as 007. I think that would have really sold tickets. It probably would have been the biggest selling Bond movie ever if you had L337, pow pow pow, white patriarchy, droids rights.
Well, maybe he's like seeing what they're wanting to do with the whole franchise. Like, it's a lot like with Mortal Kombat 11. They took all the women and made them, fully clothed. There's no cleavage and giant bazongas hanging out in your face in that game anymore, but the men are still shirtless. So, he's like got to really bust his tail to work out and be in top shape and everything. And and then they're going to just bring someone in that's, you know, and then make this whole big thing like, hey, Grace Jones was, you know, a great, she was a villain, but she was a great, you know, strong woman. But now they're going to take it and make a big deal out of it. Maybe he's just sick of it.
What? Wait, I just thought of this. What if this is all a big troll by Craig? Like, from my understanding, he's kind of an SJW, but you just expect that from everyone in Hollywood, so no surprise there. What if this is a big troll? He's looking at Captain Marvel. He's looking at everything. He knows maybe some of the people behind the scenes want to go woke. So it's like, hey, yeah. Let's make it look like we've gone woke. We've cast this black chick to be 007 now, the replacement. But, yeah, we're going to yank the rug out from everyone that's going to praise it on Twitter. And here comes James Bond, the white savior, because the new black lady fucks up every mission, you know?
If they do that, it's going to have the opposite. But it's a little bit of everything. It's got to be. They know what they're doing. We're part of the problem doing all these woke videos. We're their marketing campaign now. It's obvious.
Oh, yeah. We are the Funko Pops. We are part of the problem.
Craig has a lot of SJW and connections to your friend Ruin with his wife from the Brothers Bloom. They're all friends there.
Oh, yeah. I forgot he's in Knives Out.
Yep.
So what if they cross that over? What if it's Knives Out 007?
God.
I can't. Oh, sorry. Go ahead.
I was say any last thoughts on this? Anything else?
I can't stand where these egomaniacs attach themselves to franchises and don't respect the franchise or the fans and then abuse it. He wouldn't be anything without James Bond, just like Ruin wouldn't be anything without Star Wars, and he should have respected that and taken more care. So that's why I'm boycotting Bond is Craig when he did those comments. I still won't forgive him for that. You know what? Then leave. I'll only come back for the money. He said that. That's not out of context. That's his actual words.
Yeah.
The whole interview.
Well,
so I don't forgive him for that.
Well, Max, I think the thing is he was hoping Barbara Bach would let him go. I don't think he wanted to come back after Spectre. I think he was basically just trying to set the bar so high that they would leave him alone.
As an actor, he probably wants something that's more challenging. You know how they get. They want to be a director, be a producer. And
they don't want to be known as just one role.
Well, yeah. Not only that, he just had a kid not long before or after Spectre, and I think he wanted to be home with his kids for a while, and he's just like, I don't want to do this anymore.
Sorry, not to interrupt, but who put the thumbs down? Smash the hell out of the like button.
Either way,
who the hell did that?
Either way, it helps the algorithm.
It's gonna make me mad. Sorry.
That's all good.
Where did that come from? It's probably someone from my channel, because that's always as soon as I upload a video, it's always the downvote first.
No, you know, it's funny you getting mad. One of my favorite clips that I used for a video after we had our first little tiff through the comments was you're like go check out Blue. You're like the one I got a beef with.
Oh yeah, I still have some beef with
Yeah.
I'm here to find some of my subs. Who here's unsubbed Mad Max movie talk? I've had a lot of people unsub. I'm here to find you. I'm following you now. I actually follow people that unsub me. They're like, you suck now. Your channel's crap. Oh, there's two. I think I'm adding to the problem.
Hey, that second one was Angus, Max.
Oh, Angus, you anus! What are you doing? I was there for that stream, and oh boy! All right,
it's all good. But switching
I was trying to get the thumbs up. That's my problem. I do more damage than good.
Switching to something that ours only is probably more familiar with. Probably saw these new Sith Trooper toy lines going out, I assume. What's your thoughts on those?
I think I know a lot of people are against it already. I've heard a lot of a narrative. I'll admit from the Fandom Menace side that have said, "Oh, this is just to sell toys," and the movie hasn't come out yet, so I think it's a little unfair to write them off already. But I do think it's funny that the first time they announced it is for merchandising at San Diego Comic-Con. I did find that to be a little ironic, but I think the design overall isn't too shabby, and I know it's related to Palpatine, so I'm excited to see what that reveals.
Yeah, I mean, it looks like a toy that I definitely buy as a kid. I mean, it looks right along with it.
Yeah, it's a great design.
It stands out with the white troopers, and they already have other different colored ones that are, they have different features and whatnot. I'd say the other ones have more detailed features, but this one's fine. I mean, I don't see it as a problem that they released it.
Well, I don't have the problem that they released it. It's just they keep recycling Red Emperor. It's like, do something different for God's sake.
And those two bald guys say it's a stormtrooper painted red. That's it. Make it a little different, like the Emperor's
a lot of
Guard.
people are saying it's that guy Hip Hop Trooper. If y'all have heard of him,
yeah,
people are saying it's exactly a copy of his stuff. So it's fun to watch.
Well, Trent, I saw your video earlier on this, and it was great. I mean, you made some good points. I want to be excited about it. I really do. And if there's anything that I think is get the OG fans in, it'd be like Palpatine having his very specific guard. It would, for me, what would be even cooler is if they were actual clone troopers underneath all that. But
but here's the problem I have. Considering where someone has a car going by.
Yeah, that's my bad. There's a little race going on behind me.
Okay, well, but
cool.
No, my big problem is, and I have to inject it, but where did The Last Jedi leave us? It left us with 20 people on the Millennium Falcon. How the hell are they going to fight all this?
Time jump.
I mean, even with
year time jump.
I mean, even with the time jump, it's like most of the forces were from the New Republic, which was one of the dumbest things they did, especially with Mon Mothma, considering the EU books. But most of the Rebel fleet was decommissioned, sold for scrap, or destroyed in The Force Awakens. So it's like, where are they going to pull all this stuff out of their ass from?
Yeah, they've really ridden themselves into a corner with the sequel trilogy, and it's one of the saddest things to watch. Is that you feel like this trilogy had so much potential in terms of what they could do. I mean, literally, what you could do was endless. It's Star Wars, and they've focused so heavily on stuff we've already seen before, and so you have a situation with the Sith Troopers where, it is a rehash of the Stormtroopers, but you have to do that because you named your new empire the First Order and called them Stormtroopers. I don't know. Dig themselves into a hole and then complain about not getting out.
All they had to do was take the 3 books, basically the Thrawn trilogy books, put them on the big screen. It would have sold money left and right and would have been a good story.
Yeah, I think the problem with that would be is that it's so close to after Return of the Jedi. The actors aren't at the age they need to be. There's a lot of expanded universe and stuff you'd have to cover in the Thrawn books. And not only that, man, the last one, that whole clone Luke thing, I'm not going to beat around the bush. That was fucking cringe.
It was a bit cringe, but you know what? It would have done better. I mean, hell, even if they had to recast Han, Luke, and Leia, I still would have bought it more than what this sequel trilogy has been.
Yeah, I don't know.
Hey, Trent, how do you feel about the? Well, I know we're on the Red Stormtroopers, but how do you feel about Luke being a ghost?
A ghost in Episode 9? Oh yeah, that's not surprising. Like Mark Hamill said, it's more of a callback than anything. I don't see how it would really fit the story. Knowing JJ, I know. I'm pretty confident from all the inside stuff that I've been told and the shit that I've found out. I can pretty much guarantee you that he is in full control over this film compared to Kathleen Kennedy in terms of creative freedom that he has. And so I think when it comes to Luke, he's going to try to retcon just a little bit of what The Last Jedi did. And I think he's going to understand that the fans are really upset with what happened with Luke. And so he's going to try to redeem that in a way by bringing him back as a Force ghost. And like Red Letter Media said the other day, I think they predicted it pretty accurately that he's going to come back in a Gandalf fashion because he's that powerful in the Force. And it's going to be a big fan service moment. And everyone who didn't like The Last Jedi, including myself, is going to like it. But it's not going to be a good part of the story because it really is just fan service. But
yeah,
True. Too late.
It's funny you said it because I was about to mention the Red Letter video. I love that, because their first take And I don't know, I've kind of come to the realization any big pop film, especially one controversial like Last Jedi or Captain Marvel, you should expect some trolling of everyone in their reviews, and maybe not an honest take compared to their other stuff where it's like, oh yeah, here's some film that people crapped on, but I really liked it, you know?
Yeah.
But yeah, watching their prediction video, you see it's like, yeah, it's coming out just pure form. Like, yeah, this movie sucked. It did nothing to advance the story. It just wrote it to a dead end.
What really surprised me what they said about Chris Terrio when they brought up the fact that he wrote Dawn of Justice, or Batman vs Superman, Dawn of Justice, and the other Justice League movie. And I think Rich was the one who said this movie is going to be awful, and that's when it kind of clicked in my head. I was like, oh fuck, I forgot he wrote those. Shit, like now I'm genuinely concerned. At first I was like, all right, we got JJ, we're good, he's got control. Then I forgot he brought in a co-writer and that he's writing the film himself. So yeah, I'm concerned, but.
Well, I wish that Sith Kryptonian was here because he's a huge Zack Snyder defender on this stuff and could have some counterpoints to the story.
So am I.
I don't know personally.
Hey, let me ask you a question. Do you think that 9 should have been split into 9 and 10 so we could take 9 and undo most of the mess and then get a really good climax at 10?
God, no, that would ruin. What are we going to call it? Episode 9. What's it going to, the Roman numeral going to be?
10.
It's going to be 10. I mean, it takes out the trilogy aspect of it. It really ruins the 9-act part that Lucas was trying to go for in the beginning. And it admits fault on Disney and Lucasfilm's part. And let's be honest, they're going to refuse to admit fault. This was something that they brought in JJ last second. It's not in the budget. I mean, it is in the budget, but it's not in their best interest to make a part 2 to episode 9. I just don't think narratively it'll work for the Star Wars story.
But you know who I wanted to see, though? I wanted to see what Colin Trevorrow wanted to do, because apparently Mark Hamill and Daisy Ridley were practically in tears going, okay, let's do this.
Yeah, Daisy cried when she found out what happened with it. Colin, from what everything I've figured out about Colin, I did a lot of research to figure out what happened to him and why he left. He was very ambitious. He wanted to actually go to space to film episode 9, not like, just go to the moon or something, but he literally wanted to shoot stuff out into space and film it. I mean, I mean, good fucking God. Imagine the budget on that alone.
Oh my God.
That one scene that he's trying to shoot. But there was also a problem with the writing. The script that they gave him, that Colin gave to Kathleen and basically said, hey, here's the script we have. The first draft was really awful, apparently, and Kathleen didn't like it. Colin didn't like it, and so he offered her, "Hey, can I rewrite the script?" Basically, that's what he said, and she didn't like the time frame that it was in. So let him go. Couldn't figure out where they wanted to go with it, and brought in JJ last second, because Kathleen, when it comes to making these films, what I've learned about her is she's very much about the process of it. She wants everything to flow smoothly, and there's a process to it that you have to go through, because these are big films. There's a lot of secrets that go onto this. And Colin and those other guys that were let go from Solo didn't follow the process, and therefore they got the boot, and therefore it fucked up the rest of the franchise. So here we are.
You know, one thing I was thinking though, because it's funny that Red Letter said, I guess it's kind of obvious, but I predicted like a year ago, like the way they could fix it is Gandalfing Luke. But one thing I thought, because there's a whole discussion like, oh, bringing the Emperor, it's so stupid, blah blah blah. One way I think it could work. Well, I mean, you already got the whole like he created Anakin because of what his master taught him. So it's like transferring his essence. Like, how would he not figure that out? Like,
yeah,
it's definitely plausible.
You kind of got that.
Yeah, let's say
the whole Leia thing, which was stupid, but you can retool it to work to your advantage with the whole like shielding yourself with the Force, kind of like subconsciously, like just a reaction. That's kind of in canon now. I don't know if it was in there in the EU, but it's there now in the film. So
it was heavily implied in the EU. I've never been a fan of the Palpatine created Anakin theory. I think, and this is the OT purist in me talking, so if y'all get annoyed and roll your eyes, please excuse the 1980s part of me talking. But I think that a lot of this stuff was used to almost fix the bad writing of the prequels of George Lucas. And so they adapt all these theories, and like Anakin being created by Plagueis or Palpatine, it was never confirmed. It was implied, but I don't think Plagueis ever learned this stuff. But now it does seem to be canon that Palpatine made him. So
well, you
go that route.
know, Star Wars Theory did a video actually about the original script was very obvious in dialogue in the opera scene, instead of like where he's kind of clever with like every time he says something, he's looking at Anakin, kind of keying in like, oh yeah, this guy, he did this, you know, keeps implying. Well, in the original script, it was like very obvious, like, yeah, I'm your. So it's supposed to be kind of an inverse of Episode 5's twist. Yeah, so yeah, it's not quite a theory. You know, at first we were like, what? They did this in the comics? Like, okay, because the new Disney stuff. But
yeah, I've seen that.
Star Wars Theory found that from the original script, so it's like, oh, okay. You know, we got some confirmation, you know, that like, oh, it's not a mystery, because I was thinking, like, what if Plagueis did it, or what if it was the Force reacting to their meddling, and then
I've heard about that one.
Yep. But with the Red Troopers, as the original thing we're talking about Star Wars, I don't know, I get the whole discussion of like, oh, they're running out of stuff, yada yada, but it's like, you know, try to make a stormtrooper like this. This is the problem Gareth Edwards had, and I love Gareth Edwards and his creative process with Rogue One and stuff. He's like, he really showed you how hard it is to make Star Wars, where it's like, all right, we're trying to do something new, but if you go too new, then it's not Star Wars. But then if you stay too close, then it's just the same old, you know? So it's like, as big as a universe is, how much fun you can have with it, it's like there's a box that you're stuck in.
It is limiting.
Yeah.
Especially
really quick, Jeff, with the trooper, I'm fine with it. It feels like it has echoes of all three trilogies. So it feels like a little hint of like, hey, we're trying to, you know, especially with Palpatine as well, where he was the villain of both trilogies beforehand. It feels kind of, you know, like that rhyme and reason of Star Wars. It's like, yeah, okay, I'm fine with it. And this design, if I get one toy from Episode 9, it'll be this Red Trooper. Like, I love the design. I love troopers. So they got me hooked on this. So I'll eBay it. You know, I'm going to pay Disney or Hasbro directly, but yeah, I'll eBay it.
I'm telling you, Angus, I need clones in there. Then I'll like it. I promise, General.
That's actually a really good voice.
That is. I'm impressed.
All right. Hey,
Thanks.
so I say we move along. Hey, Rookie, what's next on our list?
All right. Well, after doing Star Wars for a little bit, I say let's get back to another recent news thing. Star Wars Only said you got quite a bit of info on Area 51. This is some brilliant idea that some guy had to storm Area 51. I mean, they can't stop everybody, right?
All right, yeah, that's not a brilliant idea. First of all, you should be going for S4. It's a sub-base of Area 51, I think 15 miles away from it, and that's where all the real cool shit happens. Area 51 is mostly a testing ground for aircraft and flight test and other military equipment. So, yeah, they're going to see the top-of-the-line shit, but it's not going to be alien stuff. It's going to be pure American-made, and they don't have money for warning shots anymore, so... Good luck.
Well,
Exactly.
The thing is, it's like the SR-71 was tested there, the B2, the F-117. Yeah, all of those were tested at Area 51. So it's like all it is just a big super secret testing facility for new planes.
That's a good fucking picture. Whoever got the two alien Joe's chin.
That's Rookie's
the thing with Area 51 that is just idiotic to me, especially you mentioning there's this other like sub site that probably has more stuff. I was stationed at Fort Knox, right? You know, it's supposedly the gold treasury or reserve.
Yeah, that place is.
And it's like it's literally like right off an exit. Like you can just cut through the fence and get to it physically. Like you think they're going to put their America's gold right next to a highway in Kentucky? Like, come on.
Yeah.
You know how many hillbillies are like, hey, let's go rob Fort Knox.
Hold on, guys. Hold on. What we're forgetting is the fun part where I don't know where the original tweet is. I don't know where it is when I looked this up, but it's like, they said we can all Naruto run faster than their bullets. And
yeah, I saw that.
They're going to have a team of tiles to be knife throwers or something. And
then my God.
They're going to be there. They're going to see, look at the image here. I can't really enhance too much on here, but there's a strategy where the blues, I think, are going to be the wall that will take all the bullet hits while the ones in black throw knives at them, and the Naruto runners run from the sides, and then they'll just get in, and when they get the aliens, they'll just they'll get them, you see? They'll just get them. They're there.
Yeah.
They'll just get them, and then when they walk out of the building, then they'll just go home and they'll be fine.
Yeah, but the thing is, they completely announced the time and date that they're gonna do it. I was talking with a buddy of mine. There are, let's see, Yuma, Arizona, where 3rd Marine Air Wing hangs out. There's Nellis. There's Camp Pendleton, which is a couple hours away. I mean, there are thousands of U.S. forces they can bring there in a very short amount of time. And like all that open area that Rookie's showing, yeah, if they really want to just kill a bunch of people, a couple of B-52s will do the job just fine.
Oh, yeah.
None of them are going to make it through.
Well, Jeff, anybody was smart, they would do it a few days before the invasion where they're getting prepared for it and then just sneak in at night or something like that whenever they're having their fucking PR meeting about what's going to happen on September 20th.
But how do you otherwise get like 1 million people to get together quietly?
No, you don't get it. They organized bus routes and road trips.
You got this planned.
They
really just natural selection. If they die, they die. I mean, come on.
Picture people that are on Twitter and that see this and go, yes, let's do this, and then they go there. They're a bunch of nerds probably that are just like
Naruto run. I mean, come on.
Running at the base, and the military guys would be like, should we really kill them or put them out of their misery? I mean, I don't know.
I would have a hard time shooting anybody. Like, I mean, I know you're supposed to in that, but could you actually see this going down? I mean, I know there's going to be a party. There's going to be a lot of people.
Something's going to go down. Like that's my big question is what's actually going to happen? Because first of all, we know no one's going to charge on that fucking base. Right. And if they do, let's be honest here, they're most likely not going to kill them. They're with this kind of big propaganda thing, they're likely going to use rubber bullets.
Microwave.
What if they put up a 20-foot wall?
I think if anything, they should put up like kind of a fake little thing to make them think they're getting into the base and just show them some like fake alien or something like that and really fucking make them trip balls or something.
Guys, it's like 12 miles from the gate to the actual base, something like 12 or 15 miles.
Oh yeah, it's air. I mean, I'm not shitting you. The S4 place, they legit had alien aircraft that they were supposedly reverse engineering, taking apart and putting back together. So that's where all the loony shit is really at. So I mean, there's legit security that goes on there that's top fucking notch, but there's no way in hell these nerds that ran like Naruto when I was in middle school, white kids running down the hallways are gonna make it.
No, so yeah. I just saw a Shuan Head video a little bit ago before.
I saw that.
And she said like there was at least 300 people that went to like Florida and they were in like horrible weather. Like it was not.
It was an F5 hurricane.
Yeah, and they're like Naruto running against the wind. And if you're that stupid to do that, there's at least going to be 300 people that are going to be stupid enough to go there and go, hey, where's the party at? Or like one of you guys said, they'll just set up camp and just have a huge barbecue set up and stuff and just chill, not create the base.
Here's how they do it. They enlist the help of Undead Essay. And
what are you talking about?
No. Honestly, though, even if they didn't want to shoot him, all they need is a bunch of canisters of CS gas. Yeah, them geeks are gonna suddenly go down like flopping.
Or like those big microwave trucks that shoot the invisible beam and cook their skin or whatever. That's what I see them using.
I think everybody should just get together on the night of the Area 51 raid and give all those fucking nerds DMT. And just say, you know what? You want to see aliens? Here you go. Do some drugs.
Free hallucinogens via helicopter, courtesy of your government.
Oh yeah. What I find funny before we close out is that a lot of people actually think this is a legitimate thing that they thought was going to happen. Like they think, yes, this is a legit idea that the guy posted, and it was a joke.
Yeah.
People that read it go, yes, it makes sense, right? And it's like, what if there's no aliens? It's like, well, then what was the point? And if there are aliens, like, do the logistics come into play with anything? No.
No, dude, watch what happened. Like, they're an actual legit. This is all like a cover. They've set this up and got all big on Twitter. And like a week prior, when they're like, okay, security's lax because the nerds aren't scheduled yet. A ex-SEAL team, Batman's in like in Hong Kong or whatever, and it's like, holy shit, they actually found aliens. Like, wow.
Man, I gotta tell you, I was excited when I heard it. I was like, no way, that's great.
Yeah, but you know what? Something a little political, but it was also pretty funny. Trump said, "There's no areas in Area 51. I already deported them 2 years ago." I'm like, "Oh my
Oh,
god!"
snap.
Damn.
That's pretty good.
No regret.
I mean, I know we try to stay away from politics, but I saw that one. I about fell
that's
over
just
laughing.
funny.
No,
Trump
politics is
a
funny.
Expert troll.
Yeah.
That was a pretty good one when I saw that from Trump. I'm like, wow, the man has a sense of humor.
Trump
Great
deserves a
pick,
vote just because of his trolling.
Rookie.
Was it? Oh yeah.
Yeah, that's a good one.
Mhm. See, now I kind of want to see this be at least like an episode in like South Park or Simpsons, or an episode. Or like they could make a short movie of storming Area 51, have all the whole thing of the guy setting the tweet, and then everybody's all talking around, spreading around, and then it comes up to everybody's getting ready, they're training, and then they go to it's the day that they do this, and they charge the base. It's a huge nerd versus army battle, and then they get inside and find the aliens, and this could be a TV series, man. I swear, this could be.
Hey,
Yeah.
Rookie. You know what the funniest thing would be? You know what the funniest thing would be is they charge into Area 51 and they find Quark from Deep Space Nine. Like, I'm gonna make some money off of you.
You assume I've seen Deep Space Nine, man. And I haven't seen
Yeah, I haven't either, buddy. I'm sorry.
Oh, you guys are killing me.
No. But okay. Any last things on Area 51, guys?
No.
So much here, but I'll hold it.
Yeah, all day, but would be here all day.
More interesting than the Sith Trooper.
Yeah.
Oddly. So let's go to another Star Wars topic. I don't know what else has been recent other than the Galaxy's Edge stuff with the theme parks. Star Wars only. Do you have any comments on that stuff?
I'm gonna make a video about it. I'm planning on covering as much as I can about it. It's definitely a odd, touchy topic. You have one side of the fandom who's like, it is completely dead. No one is there. Not even a ghost. Not even the ghost of Luke Skywalker, because Disney fucked it all up. And then you have another side of the fandom who is like that John Campea. I don't know if I'm saying his name right. Who's like, it's packed. It's packed to the fucking max. I can't even breathe. It's so packed in here. And so it's a weird. It's so weird how split the fandom is on simple shit like this, like a theme park. You can't even figure out if they're there or not.
See, in my opinion, I don't care at all. It's just like it's the theme park. When was that amount matter? Okay, but
well,
go ahead, Angus.
The one thing I'll say about that, and I get there's like this divide, and you're like, oh, or Phantom Menace, at least, our side's like, oh, look, it's dead, haha, y'all suck. Campea. The thing is, though, Campea is a shill. He has investment to boost it, as opposed to our side. Barring you can argue a few of the bigs, and even they are independent, as far as we know. There's no sponsorship or anything. It's all about we're concerned with our PR. Like we're concerned with our reputation when we cover. So like when Buddy Drunk 3PO, he's growing, covering this. He knows to just focus on one or two things of the channel. And so like he's covering this, he's looking at all this info. He's like, hey, if you're going there, please give me info whether this is true or not. And multiple people are verifying this. And so like if he's wrong, if he's like pushing this as fact and he's wrong, like that hurts him in the long run. Where it's like, oh yeah, I trusted Drunk 3PO and he lied to me. So it's
that's what a lot of channels nowadays is having validity in that sense. And it's hard to have that now. There's so many people who it's the internet. You can make up shit all you want, and you have that going on. I know Jason Ward, a lot of people don't like him either on the Star Wars side, and it's weird seeing him being at Galaxy's Edge as well and seeing it a little packed, and John Campea. But then I've even seen Disneyland channels, like channels that are based on just how Disney World and Disneyland work, who say Disneyland's a ghost town right now because of Galaxy's Edge, which makes no sense because Galaxy's Edge is also pretty empty. So it's like, how is both parks empty when you just opened this brand new Star Wars theme park that you would assume everyone would want to go to?
Yeah, well, the thing is, it's like a lot of people, like I've been watching Doomcock's coverage of it, a lot of people are complaining the lightsabers completely fall apart within an hour. They are like completely overpriced in the park. I mean,
well, yeah, $200, and it's like if you have a family and it costs however much to go from wherever you are, and you got 3 kids or something, and to build a lightsaber is $200 for each kid. Like it's on Doomcock's coverage. I do.
It's not something middle class families can afford. The Junkman, he's a guy on Twitter that I follow and talk to from time to time. He put up a post showing how much it costs for, like, I think a family of like 2 adults and maybe even 1 adult and 2 kids, and it was close to, I think, $700 for the all day thing to get in. And you got to think only 4 hours of that is going to be at Galaxy's Edge. And when John Campea put that post up when he was like, it's really crowded here, it's a 2-hour wait to get into the line, I'm like, why would you brag about that? You have to wait 2 hours out of your 4-hour window just to get to see one ride. And it's not even a long ride. It's a VR thing.
It's not very good shilling. It's like,
well, and the thing is, it was like he went like at the prime time of the day, but other people have gone in there. Like, I've seen, shots of it where they walked right up to the Falcon, spun around, and there's no one within sight.
Oh yeah, well I mean, he's going at what was it, 9 in the morning or something like that? Of you have 4-hour windows, and there's going to be probably 3 or 4 different groups that are going in throughout the day. I highly doubt what he went through in the morning is going to be the same as the next group that came in 4 hours later.
Well, yes, it could have been like a season pass situation, because he's, the shill. So they gave like the media, like, I don't know, a couple hours to be in there or something. That's
and they do that. I, as someone who's been trying to get active in the media, and I've now finally seen how that side of this franchise works. That's something that does happen. I mean, you have that Christian Harloff, and I do kind of want to talk about that. Did y'all see his reaction to not getting in?
He was.
That was embarrassing. As a guy who's met him, and I met Ken from Collider as well, and I really like Collider. I really like Ken from Collider. I've never really watched a lot of Collider. I like those guys. I thought that was a really embarrassing moment to have live. I mean, just bad PR all around.
For people that don't know about that, can you recap?
Okay, so what happened was Christian Harloff is I would argue one of the leading voices in the Star Wars community for the past 5 years. They run a show called Collider. They have a Jedi Council podcast that's really popular. They have a lot of inside sources. They're up there in Star Wars media, basically. And what happened was, whenever things like this open, Galaxy's Edge, you're allowed to get media credentials. I applied for media credentials to Star Wars Celebration, and you can do it for this right here, Galaxy's Edge. And he obviously didn't get it. He didn't get the media credentials to get in, and one of his coworkers did, because she knew someone who was, I assume, working in this. So she was able to get in there and get some interviews and get some stories, and they got some good coverage. They were talking about the Colin Trevorrow Episode 9 ship that's in Galaxy's Edge. So Collider got in, but he didn't get in. And so he said in the middle of a live stream, I'm kind of upset because I've been working my ass off as a Star Wars fan for 5 years. I've been called a shill and everything, and I didn't even get to get in. It would be nice to have some appreciation. And then one of the, I guess, co-producers or whatever of the show came in, and he was like, well, you're going to cover it. And he's like, no, I'm not. And they got in a big, ugly, petty argument live.
Well, the thing that bugged me about what Chris Harloff says, I've been working as a Star Wars fan for 5 years. That's like, whoa. Yeah. Pump the brakes and back up, bro.
Is it work?
It's like, it's work to be a Star Wars fan. I've been a Star Wars fan since I was 4 years old, back in 1986.
I've been pretending to love this franchise for years.
That's how the Collider Live show goes, though. That is, they do hashtag that's the show. I actually, I love that. That's getting more real. Because they're Collider. I know there's a lot of fans in this chat right now of Collider, but that's their attempt at being actually going more toward realness and less towards access and shilling. So I think more real and less fakeness. So I was actually really happy with that moment. And honestly, with the amount, it proves that access is a Disney paycheck.
I would agree and disagree with that. I have friends that I know are I have a friend that I know is on the media press list for Lucasfilm stuff. He's on like any stuff that we see or news that we get, he gets like a little bit earlier. Not like too exclusive, but it is an exclusive list. I obviously am not in it, but he is not really one of those people who's going to shy away from his opinion either. It's one of those things where you really have to play your cards right. It is who you know and who you talk to. And I think in a situation like Collider, where you're, talking about working your ass off for a Star Wars fan, you're getting mad about not getting a media badge or getting into one of these things. it's not going to help you in the future.
Yeah, I agree with that.
Well, honestly, you can't be completely against the shills because this is the old guard of YouTube. If you're a movie talk, if you still exist on YouTube now, this is the new right now is anti-woke, anti-shill. It's what's trending now. So there's a lot. So you can't completely condemn them. They're trying to operate within it. My only problem with the Access Media and the shills is that they don't admit it's a paycheck. It is. It shouldn't be, but it is, and you have to operate. Collider's trying a little bit with Collider Live Roll with Mark Fernandez, and I'm still subscribed to them as well. I watch them all the time. I do like Carla, and to me, that was a great moment for me.
Well, since we're on the topic of shills, what do you guys think should be like? How do you think things should go going forward when covering topics like this? Like what? I don't know. What's the better way? Because there's the side that gets over aggressive on Disney, and there's the side that shills for Disney, and all these other hot topics, Star Wars.
Yeah. Hey,
and everybody in between.
Yeah, everybody in between.
Can I take a crack at this first?
Sure.
Awesome. No, I appreciate it. Sorry, Trenton. I know you're like a huge guest, but I've tried to be rational. Me and Rookie talk about this all the time. I still have my opinion. Of course, like that's the whole basis of my channel is how I see things. And a lot of stuff it's like I agree with the consensus on like the Phantom Menace side, like, oh great, this is happening. But like the Tim Rose thing happened, and it's like, yeah, even if you love Akbar, like, is this really worth putting all your eggs in to like bitch about?
Agreed.
Like it's such a minor thing with a guy that regardless of what you think of his character, everyone knows him and his acting as like everyone just knows Tim Rose as Akbar, despite whatever he done with Henson before and after, whatever other characters he did. My whole point was like, yeah, I hate The Last Jedi. I hate Rian Johnson. I think he purposely screwed with Lucas's toys. He is like Pearl Harbor on Star Wars. He's like, well, I'll live in infamy instead of if I do a good Star Wars movie, it'll be. Everyone will just be like, wow, this really served the memory of Lucas well. That's how they'll remember it. It's like, if I fuck it up, everyone's going to be like, Rian Johnson. They're going to say his name, even if it's bad context. And with the Tim Rose thing, I honestly am not mad at Rian Johnson at all. Especially when you see the video footage of him like trying to console Mark Hamill, despite whatever you think about his treatment in the film as a character. He seemed like he cared for his actors and stuff, and it seemed like it was genuine. Like Tim Rose went along with it, whether it was just him faking it under the mask and crying. He went along with it. So, like, what are they going to think? It's like, well, he's having a good time. This is like your last scene in Star Wars. It's a trap, haha. Or it's a wrap. And for him to like cry and I think take advantage of our side of fandom to get angry, especially at Rian Johnson, when if you watch the whole interview, he talks about Lucas scrubbing one of his performances completely from in the special edition. No one's talking about that in the Phantom Menace. Like, oh, fucking Lucas scrubbed Tim Rose out of special editions, or Harrison Ford tried to get him fired on Return of the Jedi. Like, no one's mad at Harrison Ford. They just go after Rian Johnson because of Last Jedi. And it's like, just calm down, and like, yeah. So that's how I feel about this whole thing with like aggressive. It's like you need to pick your battles, even if you are angry. It's like because otherwise you look like you're just angry at every little thing, and they can't do anything to please you. Sorry about that.
Yeah, I fully agree, Angus, and this is something that I actually brought up in the whole little Scarlett Johansson thing, which I'm sure we'll get to, but I think the Fandom Menace and Collective, we're knee-jerking a little too much and not thinking rationally enough.
I agree with that, and that's one of my biggest complaints about the Phantom Menace, and I'm glad to hear members of it actually agree with that and everything, and reflect, I guess, because I feel like it's been really knee-jerk reaction, and it's almost exactly what they swear to destroy on the other side. They're making fun of people or overreacting and getting triggered, like they say, but they sometimes often get triggered themselves. Not as much, but from time to time.
Yeah, but like I had to get into it on Twitter with Doomcock a bit. I was like, dude, he's like literally ranting and raving about Bond. And I'm like, whoa, Doomcock, slow down, breathe a second, use some logic that you always like to claim because Spock's your favorite character.
It's doing more harm than good. If this anti-SJW and this anti-whatever movement, you're becoming what you hate. It's the same. Both sides are just, it's war profiteering with all this anti-woke and just jumping down. Right. Pick your battles, soften your bark a little bit, or you're just a barking bitch on the internet. And
yeah, exactly.
Oh, sorry. Yeah.
I wanted to clarify, and I can't just say that I speak for everyone in the collective, but after what had transpired with The Last Jedi, I mean, everyone was immediately woke. I mean, or not woke, but triggered and very upset. And you know, everyone from like you, Max, and Trent, I was looking for channels, your channels, as a matter of fact, to find out more information, to see if I was alone. And now it's gone so far for so long that you can't just have a group, a movement, or that many people not still want to belong to something that they found that made them feel better. From my point of view, I'm not saying that I speak for everyone, but the way I'm interpreting the people that are posting on a daily basis, it all kind of just becomes this giant paper ball wadded up, and you figure out what's in it is leftover hate, frustration, sadness, because we all still do love Star Wars. We do want it to be good again, like great again. But I don't think I see the Fandom Menace / Collective as being a hate group, but there are extremists in every group.
Sure,
and as for a lot of the people that I speak with, they're very nice, they're very cordial, and they're good people. They just want Star Wars to be great again, and there is no other option. So that's why you'll see a lot of people that will veer toward Star Wars only, for example, and they want to hear more positive things. And Mad Max, who, you know, you're very uniquely yelling at people to chill out. But, you know, what else would people do? Now, like I said, there are extremists on both sides. But I just want to clarify, at least from the collective's point of view, I just think it's a great thing that people can belong to something and get out that frustration and not, because they don't know where to put otherwise.
Agreed.
Oh, I agree. But hey, Rookie, can we flip over to the Scarlett Johansson thing for a minute? Because this is kind of a good segue.
Okay.
Because, I mean, look what happened with Scarlett Johansson. And I'm also going to tie this to the Ariel casting. Scarlett Johansson comes out, and actually she ended up walking it back a bit, but she comes out and says, I'm an actress. I should be able to play any role that I want. And I saw everybody in the Fandom Menace start clapping, start cheering, and then I'm sitting here going, and I know I did this myself because I brought it up in one of my own videos, was we just had a complete meltdown over Black Ariel, but then Scarlett Johansson comes out and says this, and we're all clapping. Anybody else besides me see the hypocrisy here?
A little bit.
I don't know. Honestly, I disagree because Black Ariel is taking a well-known white character and then, you know, just going woke by like, look, and using what Mad Max is very clear about pointing out, and I agree, using us for PR about it. Say, no, we're going to be pissed about it. I believe that, yeah, you should be able to play whatever you want within the confines of like, oh, I want to do this thing, not, hey, let's make an Elvis biopic. Let's cast the Chinese dude from Hangover. He'll be a great Elvis. Like, people have a right to be pissed about that.
I'm not against the new Ariel. After researching it, she's very talented singer, and if they're gonna go more, I mean, I'm not gonna virtue signal and say I'm like 100% for it. I'm just not against it because she's a talented singer, and if they were gonna get her for the soundtrack, like just to do the music and then put a white girl on screen, it wouldn't make sense. And they got that other singer who they just announced as Prince Eric today. So they're
well, I think if they released this like 10 years ago, I don't think there would have been as much of a reaction. But because it's been happening for the last like 6 years in a row of this type of casting decisions, it just comes off like, oh, you're just doing it just to, just because.
It's obviously
Rookie. Let me clarify just so people don't mistake or try to assume what I'm saying. All right. So I thought about making a video about this. I just need to compile multiple articles to verify. I did find one for sure. So people got pissed because Maui's costume from Moana, the Rock's character, which the whole story is, Polynesian mythology. And his whole character's costume is just him with like the skirt or whatever that they wear and tattoos and his wig. And they got pissed that you're making a costume out of brown skin. And it's like, well, like what? Like he's literally his costume is being without a shirt and having tattoos. That's the costume. It's not like Black Panther. You could put anyone in the suit or Spider-Man. All right. And you see this repeatedly. You see these people argue like, you can't let your white kids wear Moana. That's cultural appropriation. It's like, well, what about your persons of color girls? I hate that terminology, but colored girls wearing Frozen. It's like, that's a Scandinavian character. It's a one-sided thing. And when they spin it where it's like this channel that John talked about where they're like, well, a black girl could be Danish, and so it's fine if the author intended a Danish girl, blah, blah, blah. That was from Disney, actually. It was a third-party Disney company. And the same thing doesn't apply, though, for, say, Black Panther. Well, a white guy could be African, like, I don't know, Leonardo DiCaprio, who's South African. He could be Black Panther. People would lose their shit. It's the one-sidedness. This is from someone white, black, and Indian. So I'm pretty neutral on the topic of race. I see the one-sidedness. I see where it's like, if you did this with a black character, they would lose their shit. But it's okay. It's racist if you disagree with this stuff. And I see it as and the thing is, it's always characters and heroes.
Well, and it's almost never enough. Like, Scarlett Johansson not being able to play that one character, Nip Tuck, or the SJWs going after Ruby Rose because she's not lesbian enough or she's not Jewish. And it's like, just what?
Well, race is one thing to me, but I don't even want to know these actors' sexuality. I don't even really want to know. Why do we talk about it? You're an actor. So I'm kind of for Scarlett on this for certain things. It goes too far with the race too, but I don't want to know what they're up to. I don't care.
It's like Trent said. It is politically a motivator, but is it also, being that it is politically motivating, is it also a blackwashing versus whitewashing situation?
It's one of those things where, from their perspective, I would say no. You got to think it's one of those situations where everyone's going to always think they're in the right, and what they're doing. I mean, despite what I may think of it, or a lot of other people will think of it, and I think a lot of what they're doing is wrong in a sense. They're doing it from a stance of, we want to show more representation, we want to show equality, and we want the good aspects of those things. But the problem is, I think with the Black Ariel situation, it's, you're taking a character that's already been white, and it's obvious that you're doing it just to do it because she's black. Is it? Are you going to bring her in because she's a good actress, or are you bringing her in because she's black? Which is it? And it seems very apparent that recently they're doing things based on race. They're not doing things based on character or talent. It's always based on race and gender now, which is exactly what they were saying that they wanted to fight against.
Oh, sorry. I was going to add to that really quick. The other thing that I was talking about is like, being half black. I understand that my family came here, the black part at least, came here as slaves 200 to 400 years ago, and I have that inheritance. I don't know what tribe or whatever. But there's a thing called Google today where we can at least generalize and know, African. We take that mythology and make new stuff. That's the thing, is they never want to make actual African stories or like Caribbean stories for black representation. They just want to take white stories that are already established as white characters for multiple decades. And it's a disservice to representation that you're not actually making something like Mulan for black people or whatever. Like Moana just happened. Why isn't there a black one like that,
Like, have some original characters.
Yeah. Original story.
Yeah.
I actually saw a meme, and it's that boardroom one, the animation. It's like, what can we do as Disney to bring black people together? And it's like, do this black person. No, do this black person. It's like, how about we do an original story with the black person? And then the boss just glares at that guy that chucks him out the window. And it's like, It distills it down. Granted, it's funny, but it distills down the problem of they just don't want to do anything new.
They nothing original. Disney. It's one thing I wanted to talk about, but I can't because of the name Star Wars only, of course. But I really think Disney has ruined a lot of the movie making industry and the culture and art that we have in film, because I'm not going to say I hate the Marvel films, but I think they're all really generic and everyone's trying to copy them because of what Disney has done with it. And I think that's what's killed Star Wars in a way. I think that's what's killing a lot of other franchises. And I think that Disney buying Pixar, Marvel, Star Wars, and now 20th Century Fox, I mean, they own so much of the entertainment business, and it's coming from one area of art and creative talent that I don't think has a lot of creative art and talent.
It's become formulaic.
Exactly.
Well, hold on. As far as with the Marvel movies being generic, I mean, that kind of thing happens a lot, though, in general. Like, didn't The Matrix, like, that was really successful, and so many other movies tried to copy.
Yeah, but it wasn't a 10-year-long thing. I mean, that spawned a trilogy of movies because The Matrix could fund itself. This was a franchise kind of thing. This was like the next Star Wars. This is a 10-year-long movie every year, and it's very repetitive. You're building the cinematic universe. Now you have the Pirates of the Caribbean that's redoing its universe. It's having its own universe. You're having the Monsters universe with Godzilla. You're having the what's this other universe that they're working on again? There's so many now. I can't.
The Dark Universe. There's the Transformers universe. There's
Transformers.
I have a list of 30 universes actually that they're trying to franchise.
And all that comes from Marvel, and all that comes from Disney. And I know people, and this is going to be an opinion I know a lot of people are going to be upset about, but it's one of those things. People give Kathleen Kennedy a lot of crap for the films that have come out, and I will admit a lot of them have been her fault. But the biggest problem comes from Alan Horn and Bob Iger at Disney for pushing Star Wars to come out with the film so soon and so early, and trying to repeat that Marvel process. That's exactly what killed Star Wars, is coming out every year with a movie like Star Wars. You can't do that. I mean,
it's also what happened with Warner Brothers and the DC.
You can't rush.
Yeah, Mad Max, what's your thoughts on this?
Well, sorry, I zoned out a little bit. Repeat that, please. The last thing.
It's basically
you can't rush a good film.
Can't rush a good film or a good property.
Yeah.
Oh, okay. Yeah. You were saying Kathy Kennedy. Part of it was because they were trying to produce too much at once.
Yeah, I mean, she came in as president in 2012, which came in as co-chairman by Lucas in 2012, and by the end of that year, Lucas sold the franchise. She became president, and they told her, "Hey, you got 3 years to come out with a movie," and she just became president that same year. I mean, she just hired on Lucasfilm in 2012. So you got to think how quick of a turnaround that is.
Yeah, and you know, Trent. Sorry.
Okay. Sorry, go ahead.
No, go ahead, Max. You're good. I was saying she's never done a film, and that's what her first project, really, right?
My main problem with Kathy is I think she has. Well, everyone thinks she has agendas, but not one of them I think is for great Star Wars. She's not really. I personally don't feel she cares that much, except to where it's going to take her, and she has an end game, and it's not Lucasfilm president.
Well, Max,
I think she just uses. Okay.
Well, let me hop in on that. Kathleen Kennedy has been attached to a lot of big movies.
Yeah, Steven Spielberg.
She was a money person. She went out and got backers for these movies. She wasn't in the creative process.
Yeah, that's what I was saying.
But her biggest problem is the fact that Walt Disney, he had the guy that was the money guy. Kathleen Kennedy's the money guy. We didn't have a Walt Disney for Lucasfilm, which should have been the guy that did Rebels. Dave Filoni. Dave Filoni should have been brought in with her, but he should have been head of, the think tank. Creative.
I would have picked Doug Chang, the artist of the.
Or Doug Chang. But the thing is, it's like we needed that formula with Kathleen Kennedy. Kathleen Kennedy is good at getting money behind a project, but she has no feel for creative.
I have a theory, too, about the Lucasfilm. I think after the prequels, how the response was, and I'm a prequelist. I love the prequels. I think there's a lot of great there. But my personal opinion, I think there was a divide in Lucasfilm of people thinking The Kasdans are more of the talent in Lucasfilm and George. And when people went like that people against George Lucasfilm, there was a very anti-George and get him out and don't listen to him. And we're throwing away his plan and go with the Kasdan. But Kasdan, without George's imagination in mind, you get Solo. It's boring, and it just doesn't have it. There's not that imagination. The other thing that's great about Star Wars and the original trilogy is all those set pieces, like the Death Star trench run, the Empire in the Empire Strikes Back. The great scenes there. There's nothing exciting, just like the Sith Trooper. It's just a recolor. There's no great set pieces anymore. The Kenner toys in the past used to be toyetic. There's nothing to be exciting about. You look at the toys, you're like, wow, I can't wait to see that. It's just a recolored Stormtrooper. I'm not excited about that. It just proves the point to me. There's nothing new to look forward to. And then they're trying to bring back Palpatine, which I'm excited for, but honestly, it's too little, too late, and it's more important to send a message that we shouldn't support mediocre. They're not the biggest departments at Lucasfilm and Disney are their marketing and their legal departments, not to push the genre forward. Say what you want about George. He was always trying to, the prequels when they were released were innovative with the special effects, and they pushed the genre forward. They're not trying that anymore. They're just trying to have another cantina scene and another recolored vehicle or stormtrooper.
Max, here's the big thing. George was trying to tell a story. These guys are just trying to make money.
Yes.
And stories ancillary if they tell one at all. And here's the thing. John Kasdan, yeah, he worked with George, but George was the brains behind everything. He did all the research, did all the mythos, did all the background. Kasdan just kind of Kasdan basically just filled in what George did.
No, I mean, I would disagree with that. George does get a lot of credit for Star Wars that he doesn't entirely deserve with the original trilogy. I mean, his edit of Empire Strikes Back was so bad that they obviously didn't.
No, that was the original one. He didn't edit. He didn't even have much to do with Empire.
Well, no, he was in producing it, but he was of course not on set all the time. But he had a lot of control over Empire, and he was an editor of it late into the project, but it was bad, and he blew up and got mad at Irvin Kershner and Gary Kurtz about it and everything because of production. But that's a whole nother story. But Lucas has a creative control problem, I think, and with Lucasfilm, he sold the franchise because he knew that he himself was going to be the one to drag the company down, if anything, because of what happened with Red Tails. And I think this was a creator who was looking for a way out of a franchise where his fans. I think George Lucas is a lot nicer to the fans than fans think, and I think George Lucas is a lot nicer and forgiving to the fans than the fans are towards George Lucas, if that makes any sense.
Yeah, see, George got it dirty.
But I love how people say, "Oh, Red Tails was so bad." It wasn't. It wasn't. I mean, I compare it up against the old HBO Tuskegee Airmen, and Red Tails had a lot more in the aerial department, where Tuskegee Airmen was definitely a lot of the more what happened to them on the ground or in training and all that. But
yeah, and that's what George is best at, the visual storytelling, and I think that's something that a lot of people forget with George, and even when it comes to the prequels, he focused so much on the visual aspects of it because that's how he believes you should tell a story, is visually, that it should be so beautiful, and that's his art, really. You don't have to say it with words. That's why he's awful at dialogue in writing, and I wish he would just stop writing. But yeah,
you have a good point, Trent. It's as if he wrote the story to tell itself visually. Like, that totally makes sense to me.
Yeah, I mean, one of the best parts of Star Wars, even I'll say with Revenge of the Sith and A New Hope, are two scenes, and that's one with, of course, Luke looking out into the twin suns, and then the part with Anakin and Padme where they're just looking out, and Anakin's got that single tear, and they got the operetics in the background. those scenes are really beautiful for a lot of people, including myself, who, mind you, I'm not the biggest prequel fan at all. Those scenes are beautiful, though, because it's really just your character thinking, and you know what they're thinking about. You see Luke looking out to the twin suns, you know he's thinking about adventure and going off and doing something and wanting something better for his life. He's just simply thinking. And then you have Anakin, who's contemplating, you know he's contemplating what he's about to do and what he has to do and all his troubles. Scenes like that have no dialogue in them, but they're visually beautiful, and honestly, they're the scenes we always remember. I mean, 42 years later, we still remember that scene from A New Hope, and it's just one scene of him visually looking at the suns. Stuff like that's beautiful storytelling from Lucas because it's visual stuff. It's stuff that he can tell a story just by shooting a film.
Yeah, it's like what we're missing.
It is really what we're missing.
I think he sold it for the love of everyone. He would have. It would have taken the last years of his life to complete, and he wanted to make sure that all those workers there at Lucasfilm were taken care of, the fans were taken care of, and left the loophole of the fan film. That was really important to him too.
Oh, unlike CBS and Star Trek.
Mm-hmm.
God.
Hey, I have a question for. Oh, sorry. Go ahead.
Go ahead, Flipp.
I have a question for Trent and for Max. I heard. Max, you were saying you mentioned Solo for a minute, and I was wondering what you guys thought if Solo would have been. Now, this is taking a lot out of the equation. Forget the story, forget the writing and the visuals. But would Anthony Ingruber would he have made that a more visually accepting story?
You're talking about in terms of cinematography?
Yeah, I mean, I think he looked a lot like a young Harrison Ford. So I was really disappointed about that.
Okay. I know who you're talking about. Now. The actor choice, was not the best one. You have this problem of you're never going to be able to capture Harrison Ford, but Anthony, he had the fan support behind him, and I think with a film like Han Solo, where it really is a film no one asked for, I think Anthony probably would have just been a fine choice, just to be like, hey, you know what? Fuck it.
No, he actually looks like a young Harrison Ford.
Yeah, if he has a little hair when he has it combed and whatnot, I mean, it looks fucking great.
I mean, there's that. I can't remember who had it, but there's this one where he played a young Harrison Ford for a scene or two and did just fine.
Mm-hmm.
I think it wouldn't have made a difference. I was for Anthony and Gruber, but because I boycotted Solo 100%, but I did watch it on Netflix, and after actually seeing the movie, he's actually the best thing about the movie. It's so boring.
I'm agree with you.
There's nothing exciting there.
No,
I saw the movie in theaters, and the only thing I could say about Alden Ehrenreich, the only time I ever believed him as Han Solo was when he was flying the Falcon. Other than that, I never saw him as Han Solo.
It definitely doesn't feel like a Han Solo character to me. It didn't feel like Han Solo at all. It just felt like a different Star Wars character, like a young guy that, of course, is a Han Solo-esque character.
Honestly,
but
yeah, this is what I say about Alden Ehrenreich. You shouldn't give him Han Solo. You know, he probably went in really good as Dash Rendar.
Yeah, that wouldn't be a bad pick.
I could see him as Dash Rendar. Give him the Outrider. Give him a solo smuggler story and let him play Dash Rendar where he can make the character himself and not have to step into someone else's shoes.
And did I hear this right? They're actually thinking about making a sequel to Solo. Is that still on the table? Anybody?
No, that's long dead.
Oh, okay.
That was John Kasdan begging for another job.
Weird Twitter fans that thought Solo was good and worthy. They really just wanted clout. They just wanted attention, and they were like, "Oh, make Solo 2 happen." Why? That's literally the film that has ruined. I mean, you could argue The Last Jedi is definitely the one, cause and effect kind of thing. But if you look at the numbers and from Disney's perspective, that is the film that ruined everything. Why the fuck would you make another film to a film that lost $50 million and just basically bankrupted the whole thing?
I'm sorry. The only movie that was probably really good out of the Disney era, I have to say, is Rogue One, and it wasn't even all that good to begin with.
I was about to say I don't think it was that good, but yeah, it's the best one in terms of reaction to it.
So I love Rogue One. It adds to the New Hope to me. It's something that adds to it instead of taking away, like the.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, I mean, it adds to it.
I loved it too. Actually,
It doesn't damage anything. You don't have to.
Yeah,
Sorry.
and the other thing I liked about Rogue One is it had one of the best space battles in Star Wars.
Oh yeah.
only one thing missing: Chirrut Imwe takes the kyber crystal off Jin's necklace and does a lightsaber.
Yeah, I thought that was a missed opportunity right there, just to have him do it for a hot second and die.
Yeah,
Well,
I would have loved it.
so I think we'll be closing out pretty soon, but I think this leads into a good question. What do you guys think about boycotts? Boycotts or no?
Yes.
I'm kind of like Jeremy Griggs. Personal opinion: either support it with your money or don't, but make it your own personal choice.
Then don't bark all day for a year straight and not do anything.
Yeah.
What are they at? They're spinning their wheels. What do they have now? Soy emojis for being a member. What's this gonna do? The T-shirts. Jeremy's videos now have what's the back end of the video says big T-shirt ad now. What are we doing here? Are we just barking? Or are you biting back? If you care about Star Wars first, put it first, and instead of putting anti-SJW, all that stuff first. This is the way we need a movement for film, the way EVS has for Comicsgate. If you want to make it better, do something about it. And the simplest thing is just not to keep paying for it.
Well, that's like Star Wars Theory and his Vader movie. Oh my God.
Yeah.
I wasn't a fan personally, but yeah, it was a big deal.
Before this closes out, though, I did promise my subs that I'd answer some questions. I don't have them. I have like 4 or 5 or 6 questions at the end.
Okay, but let's get Star Wars Only and Black Angus's thoughts on boycotting first.
Yeah.
Yeah, go ahead.
Oh, okay. All right. So here's my thing, and I guess you could apply this to Comicsgate as well, which I love Comicsgate. When you take out the societal context, because people get triggered because they see it as two different things. But when you look at the bus boycotts in the 50s during the civil rights, or like sort of pre-civil rights, if you will, you can argue. What does it boil down to? It's really no different than what we're talking about in film or with comics or something else might pop up later. It's all about customer service. It's not about, hey, I need you to accept me, the black person that you hate in the 50s, or hey, I need you to accept the conservative today with comics or film, or just a fan that doesn't want politics in my products to begin with. I don't care what you think about me off the clock, but I'm paying you for a product. Serve me. It's like the vape guys, like, do my bidding. It's what you're here for. I expect everyone in Hollywood to hate someone like me and all of us on this panel, but we're funding you collectively. We fill up your paycheck. Now, one of us by ourselves can't do anything. And so I think we have to boycott. We have to sort of rally. There was a unsaid, if you will, like a lot of people said boycott or soycott for Solo. I would say there was a sort of unsaid rallied boycott of Solo. That's why it failed. We hurt them in their wallets. That's why you see with Captain Marvel, they got very proactive to shield it, to change the algorithm. Brianna Wu's talking about, making it like criminal or something, to have these opinions. You got this new, I don't know what, she is a congresswoman in the Senate or representatives, but she's like, oh, we're going to make it illegal to talk negatively or joke about, representative stuff like this. It all is cumulative, right? And what do? You stop it by not giving them their money when they say F you, and think that you're just going to keep buying this stuff because it has a label you like, that you grew up with, because it has, laser swords, as Ryan Johnson will say, and whatnot, that you've loved since you're a kid. The only way to stop it, the one recourse you have, just like our forefathers in civil rights with the buses, like, you don't want to treat me with decency as a customer, well, I'll just get up a little bit earlier and walk to work and see how well that works for you, bus driver, that you want a paycheck. Kathleen Kennedy's the bus driver. Star Wars is our bus. If you don't like the product, if you feel disserviced by the service from the industry, you have to close your wallet. You have to suffer a bit. You know, as I tell people all the time, there's so much entertainment to enjoy. You don't need Star Wars. You don't need Disney. You don't need to keep paying for the shit. Go to the library. Go to the graphic novel section library. Go to the DVD section library. Find old stuff that you'd never heard of. Just explore. Like, you're not bound to the theater system. Sorry if the theaters close down. Sorry if comic stores close down. It all works together. Someone's got to suffer. Unfortunately, there's collateral damage. People try to spin like, oh, well, it's not the worker at Disney's fault. No, but someone's got to suffer. Unfortunately,
you can buy popcorn at the movie theater, and they'll get more of the money than they would if you bought a ticket. So,
yeah, exactly. I mean, like, sorry, like, you know, the executives go along with this stuff that own these companies, just like, you know, the parks and everything. Like, we have to put a stop to if we want change. You know, I argue this where it's like, I get the angle for Phantom Menace bigs to represent our fandom at Celebration, but Disney doesn't give a shit. They got the money. There wasn't enough people that were quiet or booing at Rise of Skywalker trailer. If it was like the Eagles, I'm a big Philly team off the field if they suck. You know, there's that awareness for the owner, like, hey, you fix your shit this year or this coach needs to go. You know. There's a vocal fandom both ways, as opposed with Star Wars. It's like they only listen to the ones that are like, yay, 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 regardless if they're paying or not. We're the paying fans, and we gave them a chance after Last Jedi, and it seems pretty clear they're still gonna go the route that fits their agenda, and not it's not the agenda of making money. So I get really irritated when people say boycotts don't work. And it's like, what are you saying? People rallying together to not spend money doesn't change stuff? Like, it makes no sense. Like,
I have
they
some
need money to
your
keep going.
point, Angus, when you're done. I'm sorry.
Yeah, I'm done.
Okay. The con of cons. There's not a Star Wars movie every year, but there sure as hell is a con now. And they had a 2-year break, I think, between the last one. It just shows that you go to support this stuff. It's just helping them do whatever the hell they want. That's where the money comes in. All the milking of the fandom. If you bite the hand that feeds you, bite back. That's what I'm talking about. You do something back. If they're biting the hand that feeds them, insulting us, calling us all kinds of stuff, you bite back. That's my thought. Sorry.
Yeah, paying for the next movie is a lot like taking it up the ass. I just don't want that. You know, I don't want to pay money and then in the middle of the movie go, why the hell did I do that? I mean, I'm gonna go to the movie. I'm just not gonna pay. I'm just not gonna pay.
It's one of those things. I think you need to listen to people's opinions when it comes to the next one. And if there's one thing I could recommend to boycott, it would be to pick your poison on what you would boycott when it comes to the future of the Star Wars films, because we still have that Rian Johnson trilogy. I know some people think it's not happening, but it's so far 110% confirmed it's happening. If you're going to boycott a film, I would recommend, hey, why don't we watch the film? If Episode 9 is good, I'd recommend seeing that film. If it does have J.J. Abrams' creative control, if it is a good film, say, hey, this is what we've been wanting from the sequel trilogy from the start. If it's not good, then by all means don't see it and boycott it. But with the Rian Johnson film, that's definitely the one that I think if there's a narrative that people want to push of saying this guy is the one that screwed it up, this guy does not represent what we want from Star Wars, we don't like the way he's treated the fans, his response to the fans, and the criticism that we've given him, we're going to boycott this guy's film, and we're going to show you exactly who and what we don't like. So it's irrefutable on what you don't like, because they've been saying, oh, Solo failed because they don't want to film every year. No, Solo failed because no one liked The Last Jedi, and we're pissed. And there was, as Angus was saying, there was a boycott towards it. And I know a lot of people say that there wasn't a boycott, but there was. I mean, there really was. And I think Jeremy is a little responsible for it, but I don't blame him for it either. I think he brought it to the table as an option for fans, and I think they took it. And I got to give him respect for it, because, I mean, I've met Jeremy, and he's exactly as he seems on camera. And so honesty like that is something that people respond to well.
Yeah, I saw that video.
The Rian Johnson trilogy. Oh my god! I
kind of
I like you a lot, but come on, there's no trilogy. It was a BS announcement to get people on seats.
It's happening, dude. I know there's they're building a production studio for the D&D trilogy guys, and Rian Johnson has said after Knives Out comes out, he's going right back into Star Wars, and that fits with the timeline. I'm not shitting you. If you look at the timeline, they're building a production place for Star Wars films only for the trilogy, the David Benioff and D.B. Weiss trilogy. Those guys are going to start producing and getting all their cast together. They're working on that stuff now. And then right after their film in 2022, I'm 110% guarantee
on this one.
Mm-hmm.
I have a counter argument. Okay, so they're definitely going through with the D.B. Weiss, David Benioff, unfortunately, and that's what they're pushing first, right?
We don't know confirmed, but 2022, it makes sense because they're done with Game of Thrones, and they said after Game of Thrones they're going into Star Wars. So they're up. They're the ones that are making it next.
Okay, so think of the general consumer. You release their episode 1 first.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, then you're gonna release Rian Johnson's episode 1.
I don't know how the timeline's gonna work. It sounds so confusing.
That's why it's not gonna happen.
I would agree with you.
It might move it to Disney Plus, or what I think they're trying to do is say, oh, he's going to be involved to save face for Rian Johnson. He's going to be involved in the first episode of the D.B. Weiss and David Benioff, and say we collaborated for him to save face.
I don't know.
Disagree with on. I guess we'll disagree on this topic, but I 100% think it's never going to happen.
The reason I think it's going to happen is if you look at the pattern that they have. Remember how they were trying to do a movie almost every year? You look at the Rian Johnson trilogy, they could put one out in May of 2027, and you would have the 50-year anniversary of Star Wars right there. And let's not beat around the bush. Do you not think Disney would pull something like that? It would be foolish not to have a film come out on the 50-year anniversary of Star Wars. I think it's too much of a perfect timeline to have one come out in 2027, 2025, 2023, and then you have the David Benioff films come out in 2022, 2024, and then 2026, and you end it all with Ryan's trilogy.
Well, no. Here's what they're going to do in 2027. It's going to be the Holdo origin story.
Oh, no.
God. Oh, hey, guys, speaking of 50 years, today, 50 years ago, Apollo 11 launched.
Nice.
Just a little history throw up, and then on the 20th is when they landed.
And then they lied to us about the aliens.
They brought them back to Area 51, but never told us.
Yeah, pretty much.
Max, really quick, I was going to say, Iger came out and said there's never going to be a Star Wars movie that just goes to Disney Plus. Like, every movie's, if they make Star Wars movies, it's going to go to theaters.
Oh, yeah, they run the film industry. There's no way they wouldn't put all that money into a film and just put it to Disney Plus.
But my point, my final point on this is that regardless of what you think of Ryan, even just the general public would be so confused with, because this isn't Captain America and Iron Man. It's easy to differentiate the second Iron Man, the second Captain America going to theaters. They're Jedi, they're Sith, there's Force. So when you have episode 1 of one trilogy and then episode 1 of another trilogy, what do you release next? Episode 2 of D.B. Weiss or episode 2 of Rian Johnson? It would general public would be too confused. It would be a disaster. More than Disney Star Wars is already a disaster.
I agree that it is confusing, but I think there's a reason they've been heavily implying, well, not even implying, they've said they're going to take the next 3 years off to plan the future with Rian Johnson, with David Benioff and D.B. Weiss. They're all actually going to sit down together, because you got to consider this. Ryan is the director and writer of the first one, and he's writing the other 2 of his trilogy. They haven't said who's producing those other 2 films. They haven't said who's writing or directing those other 2 films, except for Ryan. So you have 2 possible directors right there with that trilogy, other than Ryan. And then you go to the David Benioff and D.B. Weiss trilogy. You know they're going to write it and produce it, but there's 3 different options for directors right there. You're right. One of them easily could be Rian Johnson or someone else. I mean, the possibilities right here are a little endless, and I think for Disney and Lucasfilm, you're really setting yourself up for 10 more years of Star Wars. And you got to think in the long run, short term, yeah, we might hate it, but 20, 30 years from now, imagine the kids who grew up with the prequel or who grew up with the sequels and this new trilogy. Oh, they're going to be eating up the nostalgia on this shit.
Maybe not.
Oh, I mean, look at the prequels. When that came out, everybody hated it. It was not a well-received trilogy. I remember when they came out, and a lot of people after that were like, all right, well, what's next for Star Wars? And 20 years later, Lucas was right. Lucas predicted that people are going to look back on them fondly, and we do. A lot of people miss those films now because of not only what Disney has done, but because it's been 20 years since The Phantom Menace. And that backlash towards it isn't as bad as it was now because people look at it and say, hey, it's really a good film. And I think you're
No,
gonna have
I still don't.
No, and there's a factor that people.
I don't like
and there's a factor that 10 or 20 years from now, people aren't going to remember all the things that Ryan Johnson or other creators or media people said. They'll just look at the movies themselves, and they might conclude that they don't think it's too bad or not insulting, or like they will probably look on it better than we do now.
Already look at Solo already. People are already saying, looking back at Solo, I don't think it gets enough credit that it really deserves. It's like, are you serious? That it wasn't a good film. What do you mean it doesn't get credit? No one saw it.
Yeah.
No one saw it for a reason. It's a boring film.
I'm sorry. As far as the Phantom Menace goes, except for a really good lightsaber duel, I did not like the movie.
Oh yeah, the Phantom Menace. Yeah, I don't like the movie either. I do think it's
love Phantom Menace.
I don't dislike it. I don't hate it. No, don't like it for sure.
Oh, number one and number two, I don't like either of them. 3 was probably the best of the litter. Even George Lucas did some really good visuals, but oh my God, was some of the dialogue cringe, like Anakin and Padme on the.
You're so beautiful.
Yes, God, don't do it.
Oh, because I'm so in love.
Oh God,
I'm so in love with you.
So much cringe. So much.
So love is blind.
It's...
God. What did he say after that? I don't fucking remember. She's like, Anakin, I want to have a baby on the boo.
Teenagers can be cringy. It's kind of accurate.
But the thing is, they're not teenagers by that point. That's why Padme's like
4 or 5 years older than him, trying to get his pickle in her when he's 9.
Yeah. Good point.
George is so great, he wanted us to feel as uncomfortable as Padme.
No.
George
weird with that stuff. Y'all know with Indiana Jones, he was talking about how Indiana Jones is 25 and like a girl he fooled around with was like 15. And George is like, it's really interesting as a story because it's right on the edge. I'm like, that's not right on the edge, George. That's pedophilia, you fucking perv. Like, come on.
I do have some questions, if that's all right. I don't know if we're heading towards the end or not, but
yeah, just about to close out in a few. So yeah, go ahead.
My subs are called Star Warriors, and they have some hard questions for this War Council. They of course, my frequent channel commenters are for the boycott. They say Emmy Light says boycotts absolutely do work, but if you're going to talk it, then walk it. Don't be like hypocrites and phonies, and keep paying to see the films and events. And wanted to get your thoughts on that.
I agree with him. He makes a good point. You have a lot of people who say that, oh, I'm not for Disney Star Wars, I'm not for the new stuff, but they talk about it every day. They promote it every day. It's one of those things where put your money where your mouth is. If you don't want to see the film, don't go see it.
Sure. And then the next super chat is B Catalog Records and Films. He has a YouTube channel as well. He does a lot of independent music type videos. He's in Oregon. He has a little company, I think. And his super chat question, 200,000 pesos. EVS recently said he's boycotting Rise of Skywanker, he put, after Marvel refused to honor the last wish of a sick child to have Spider-Man on his gravestone. Is it possible to turn EVS to the Warcott side, the winning side, in my opinion, and bring him on as an ally?
What?
Yeah.
What do you I don't really get what he wants from that.
Saying, is it possible to bring EVS to the boycott? Because he keeps hinting at, like when Star Wars Theory was his video was being monetized by Disney, or
that was bullshit, by the way, but yeah, go ahead.
Or with the recent things where they won't allow Spider-Man on on the child's tombstone.
Oh,
He's
yeah.
now on boycott. He has a video now on boycotting. He keeps going back and forth, just hinting at it.
Well, it's hard to tell with him because he loves Star Wars big time. That's why he has so many action figures and buys all their stuff all the time. But he also acts passionately, and he also doesn't go see every movie. So I mean, there's a lot of movies he said he was going to go see and he didn't see. So it's hard to say. I mean, hard to predict what somebody's really going to do when it comes down to it. I, as of right now, am probably not going to go see it. But if my brother wanted to go see it, it's something that we could probably do.
Sure,
whether you like it or not. Something to do. So
I think Disney Unchecked is a scary thing, and I think just the gravestone thing. There's evil stuff Disney does every day. So that's my thoughts on it. EVS coming to the Warcott side, I think he should, because once they're done with film and done with streaming, they already own Marvel Entertainment. And they have comics made about some of their properties. What if they start scooping up other things like comic companies altogether, not just the one side of it? What if they start buying out everything?
Yeah, Max, that's a good point, actually, because IDW, from what I understand, is going under. And so there's a lot of IPs that they could scoop up, just like they've done with Fox, where it's like, oh, like you can't own like this or that, because then you'll own all of sports media pretty much. So they have to like keep that with Fox that's still remaining or whatever. So it's different IPs, and you can scoop all those up and not be held by monopoly, as far as I know, because it's just like they're just ideas, I think it's a valid point. But you see the comic industry kind of dying, so I don't know if he's quite worried about that, because like their sales went down by like 7% this month. So
once Disney owns it, they never let go. They have
comics aside, it's going to be hard. I hate to say this, Max, but I think it's going to be hard for a boycott to be super successful, because after Solo and as much time has gone by and the very little we've heard from Kathleen Kennedy and Rian Johnson, which has amounted to 0 now, except for when she talked a month ago. But people are, it's called top of mind awareness, TOMA, and there's not a lot of that TOMA right now, and so I think the boycott's going to be hard to do.
Lucasfilm's done a really good PR recently, the past, I'd say, year with Star Wars. You had the panel that they had for the Rise of Skywalker, and Kathleen Kennedy didn't really talk too much. I mean, she really just was kind of reserved. The Mandalorian panel, she came out and was like, "Hey, how you doing?" and left, and let Jon Favreau and Dave Filoni take over. So I think they're doing good PR by not having Kathleen Kennedy say too much. Yeah. Oh, and I think she's aware of the problems that people had. And when it comes to the Rise of Skywalker, I think they're banking. This one has to do well. Like I'm not joking here. This one has to do good numbers. It has to profit. If this film does flop, I guarantee you the future of the franchise is at stake. They will stop everything.
Would that be determined by the opening box office, or like just the?
Oh yeah, worldwide box office. The main thing is domestically. They have to win domestically because China, they're already not going to do well. It's never done well in China. You can thank George Lucas for that, because Phantom Menace was the first film they got to see, so they didn't really get on the hype train for Star Wars like we did in the 70s and the 80s. And so when it comes to the Rise of Skywalker, this film's supposed to do more than The Last Jedi. I estimate it will do 1.5 billion, but if it doesn't profit, if it gets, if it doesn't make its money back, so let's say less than $1 billion, and probably even less than 750 million, it would be awful for Disney and Lucasfilm. But they've done good on promoting stuff. You have The Mandalorian coming out later this year in November. Same with Jedi Fallen Order, and then right after that you have the Clone Wars. I mean, they've really timed things pretty good this time around compared to what they did with Solo.
Yeah, and Max, I'm not saying that I'm not for the boycott. I think personally, I'm voting with my wallet 110%. I'm going to see the movie, but I'm not going to pay. But I just wanted to say that.
Work cut out for us is all. We're going to die on the battlefield trying. That's what I'm going to try to do.
Yeah, the thing is, I have cinema blend. I get to see the premium. Like, I pay $20 a month. I get to see 3 movies a week. So the theater's going to get my money. Star Wars sure shell isn't. So. Yeah,
I say the best way to stick it would be go to the theater, buy a couple of snacks and popcorn, and walk out, and don't buy the movie.
Jeez, and I'll try to get into the premiere.
So Star Wars only. I just wanted to add really quick. You're talking about Phantom Menace was like the first, I guess, big Western blockbuster China got, and that screwed future for Star Wars with them. You should look into it. Maybe if you have this could be some real diversity work for you, not the Disney type of bullshit. I have a friend, Roger. Everyone on the panel should know who Roger is, besides maybe Max. He apparently worked in China for a while, and Star Wars doesn't resonate over there, not because like spectacle or any of that. It's like the core of it is all Eastern philosophy. So it's like they already know that stuff,
No, yeah, it's got a lot of mythology.
It's like, oh look, Americans fetishizing our philosophy. It's just like whatever, it's nice, I guess, but
but with a white kid.
yeah, it's like okay, that's cute. Like we have the real shit, as opposed to like in America with like comics, most of the heroes are very messianic kind of portrayals, whether it's meant to be Christian or not. It's kind of like the whole core of it. Like it works for us because like, wow, it's for us. But I don't know. That could be an angle you could look at and maybe make a video like, well, that's why Star Wars has never really worked. Plus, Rose Tico is Vietnamese, and they don't like Southeast Asians in China, and they don't like black people.
yeah, that's more of a modern thing. I know with China as well, they had a big pirate market. Like you had a lot of bootleg versions of Star Wars, and so their interpretation of the franchise is a lot different. And one thing I've seen on interviews with Chinese people is that they don't like how many there are, and how, I mean, especially now, you have something like The Last Jedi, it doesn't make a lot of sense logically, and they don't like that. And then you also have the fact that it does have a lot of mythos that are, as they say, a tale as old as time, and that does resonate with them. It's familiar, but they do have an influence. I mean, what was that movie in 2018 or 2017 when The Last Jedi came out? It was a movie that copied the name of a Star Wars movie, but did better than The Last Jedi. And it was like a comedy movie of two cops or something like that. So yeah, they don't like Star Wars.
I think they like more spectacle stuff like Transformers. So they
like Transformers.
Much to the translations, they can just watch a huge special effects masterpiece before them, and it's like, okay, cool. And I'm from America. All right, yeah. Get one of those.
Right. That was a good.
Hey guys, hey, I need to bounce out here. My wife's starting to give me the stink out here.
We're closing out in just a few minutes. Anyway.
I'll try to be quick with these last two, and next time I'll just do two comments, not drag it out. The Sci-Fi Dragon, he also has a channel. If Hollywood keeps going the way it's currently going, do you think we'll see a rise in independent films by independent filmmakers, just like Comicsgate caused the rise in independent comics by independent writers and artists? I hope so.
Angus, I think you should do that, since we basically already have a GoFundMe thing for that going, and I'm working on my own project now. Why don't you go ahead, man?
Yeah, that's so annoying because people always say, like, we need a film game. And it's like, I'm trying to do that to GoFundMe. I'm trying to like fund a couple of guys to like start something small and be like the first people, because really it's what it is. It's like, EVS and Richard Meyer pop out now with Comicsgate projects, and then everyone's like, oh, I got a comic, I got an Indiegogo, and it's like, oh, now you get all these people. I've had a bunch of interviews with first time people that have never been in comics now that had ideas they've been working on for 2 to 5 years, and they finally saw that spark of like, that's how to do it. Just build a channel and try and network. And so I'm trying that with essentially call it Filmgate, if you will, for now. Where it's like Rookie and Josiah like start with a couple people, and maybe people will finally get the idea like, hey, I don't have to, if like I can change the industry myself, no matter how small it is, or we can make our own independent industry of film, where it's like you see the example if you look at Cinestate. Just look up articles about Cinestate, what the media spins versus how critics and audiences take the film. Audiences really love the Cinestate films that review them. So it's kind of the same idea. It's just more focused, but it's small. Like there's little microcosms of my idea already in play. It can work. It's just you gotta be willing to start somewhere. So I totally agree. I watch Sci-Fi Dragon here and there when I can.
Cool. That's why I think the future is fan film.
Yeah, I agree big time.
I think even with the divides of the war that's going on in the Star Wars fandom, I think most people agree that Star Wars Theory Vader film is something positive, and that's where I put my focus on is fans doing that better than Disney. It's more exciting than Disney.
I don't know about that one, but yeah, I agree with the positiveness with the Theory fan film.
There's just one more last question. Next time I'll keep it to 2. Yeager any guess how long it will take for Hollywood PC culture to get the hint that going woke leads to going broke?
At least another 4 years. At least.
No, I would say probably about 6 to 8 years, if not like a decade. They're not letting go of this anytime soon.
Well, all this stuff coming out now, the decisions were made years ago, so hopefully we'll start to see it a little bit.
Well, because I feel like 4 years will be good, because then it'll be running for about a decade with this stuff, and then people will get fatigued with this type of same format going on around anyway, and there'll be time for something different. So
yeah,
so I feel
like it's really based on how much people pay
cool.
for.
Thank you for answering those questions.
Yeah, of course.
Well, I'm also thinking that hopefully, right now we're still in the midst of the culture war. As long as it goes, Hollywood's going to keep going down this road. Eventually, when that dies, this whole PC crap will die with it.
Everything in this era is going to look so dated in the future, I think.
Oh my God, yes.
Well, think of it this way. As far as like any sort of awareness, it's only been around since 2016 in most people's view of like, oh, look, the misogynist trolls online, they hate women. Like, we've only really started seeing this. So it's a toddler. It's a 3-year-old movement, and it's had one actual success, Captain Marvel, which was shielded by a huge 22 film series before that, and placed strategically. Instead of put out in November like Thor Ragnarok the year before, they waited and had a huge gap between what's that movie? Ant-Man in July, and then Ant-Man, and then a month before Endgame, Captain Marvel. It's like, well, if that sucked, don't worry, we got the finale of this huge event with Thanos. It's like that's the one success thus far. Like, I think I was listening to Edwin Boyette. He said Men in Black International made 77 million internationally so far. So it's like, these things keep going broke when they go woke. So, like, don't worry. Something like James Bond might shield itself for still having Craig for most of the film and be the hero. That stuff like that'll work, or like this Captain Marvel. But it's just they got so many IPs to run through. That's the problem.
When a lot of these young adults grow up that they're marketing all this bullshit to, and they decide that they don't have time to worry about shit like this anymore, then it'll die.
Well, the other thing I'll add to, I think that ties in, because they want politics, they want this push. Like, once Antifa finally gets the boot, once like Ocasio-Cortez gets shown for the idiot she is, and the people that want her, all these dumb kids, they're like, oh, she's our queen. Once they actually suffer her reign in her district, or suffer people like her in their district, and see how she runs jobs out, like the Amazon deal and whatnot, once they experience it, and these kids get red-pilled to reality, that's when the stuff starts changing. It's just we're in a growth spurt. Like, look at the 60s, it was crazy, and then the 70s happened. Everyone kind of relaxed, and then they got focused on, oh crap, we're in a recession.
Yeah, Angus, it's political, and it takes a minute. I agree.
What do you think, Star Wars Only?
About what now? I'm sorry, I was re-downloading SWTOR.
That's all good. Angus, since you're on a roll, you can recap.
Go ahead. Just like, when do you think this woke phase of film will?
Oh, yeah. I agreed with the assessment of that. Probably about 4 to 5 years, because of all the decisions that have been made prior. Because these do take a decent amount of time to make. It is one of those things where, you're going to have these young adults who, when they do eventually grow up, they're going to say, these are pretty stupid things to worry about. This diversity, this wokeness, everything has to be about race or a certain gender. It's not really about the art or the movie or the cinema anymore. It's just about pandering and politics, like you said. I think 4 to 5 years, when we kind of get a grip on what this whole internet thing is, what this whole culture as just us, as I honestly would say, mankind in general, we have this new technology of the internet and all this stuff growing. This is how we interact now. That's a huge part of this and how we talk to people. It used to be you talk face to face and you're respectful. Now I can tell you you're a piece of shit on the internet and you would never have to know who I am. And I feel great about it. So you have this weird anonymity aspect of it that people get behind. So it's a lot easier to be outraged. And now a lot of people are outraged. A lot of people are entitled. It's such an easy time to live in. It's pretty easy to just get on here and bitch about the new movie because it doesn't have a black lady in it, and I want that because fuck you and how dare you think otherwise.
Do you guys think if something traumatic happened, like with America, like getting into like a huge type of war, there's some huge attack on America again, something like with 9/11, like people would start to refocus and
No.
No, I think it would. It's tragic, but those things, like even looking after 9/11, those things really unite people. Even after Reagan got shot, when he was president, even Democrats back then were like, hey, that sucks, but get better. I don't think you would have that with our current president, but I think if you do have something, a big national scale, it could unite us, but it'd have to be pretty big because nowadays, anytime a school shooting happens, it's within seconds, it's like, hey, you're to blame.
Yeah, exactly.
I don't think a 9/11 today would work. I get that, like, before we're in this weird flux post Columbine and stuff, then it's just the end of the American dream. You had a lot of like films start kind of analyzing like, oh, like it's suburbia isn't all it's cracked up to be. It's kind of monotonous and I can't think of the word right now, but like American Beauty really captures that whole sentiment. And then you have 9/11, where it's like, oh, fuck, like, it unites us on this front. But now I got the internet so interconnected and stuff, and people spend, especially this, spin. Like, we just had a detention center in, like, Colorado get assaulted or attempted, by a domestic terrorist. People, we got these people that, they get fueled by the internet, regardless of how much people are on Twitter, as percentage-wise. Like, that's how we go off of that's how the media responds to seeing what's on Twitter and Facebook and stuff. So you're going to see the split of like, oh, we should support the troops and rally and center ourselves, and other people will be like, well, we deserve it because something happened in cultural appropriation or whatever, or there's not Muslims in film. Something they would spin something, where it's our fault we get attacked, So I don't think a new 9/11 would ever actually unite us.
Yeah, agreed with that. So
all right. Any last things anybody wants to say to the audience, to the chat? Anything?
So long, and thanks for all the fish.
Hey.
Thanks, Star Wars Only, for coming on. Yeah.
Yeah, no problem. Thanks for having me. Have a great time.
You guys here.
It was great hanging out with you, Trenton. And one Chris, I got for you. Another reason, along with so many others that we talk about, why I'm so hard on the boycott train. Is the Spider-Man gravestone that child. I actually had the father on an interview. I strongly suggest you watch it and get specific details from the father himself when we interviewed him, and it makes it even worse. This whole thing happened. And it's we're talking about being triggered and stuff. I jumped on someone really quick when they're like, I agree with Disney about the copyright and death associated characters. I jumped down their throat like as soon as I saw that, which they post like a minute beforehand, but it was with facts. It's like I only get I try to restrain myself. I'll put my phone down for a while, but there was facts behind this where it's like 2 years ago, Disney Marvel gave a tombstone to another kid who died with Iron Man, and his name was Ollie as well. So it's like, I don't get why they're giving themselves a black guy with this. It's very asinine. Like, this is a PR layup, especially with the circumstance that this father dealt with his family, and he's probably going to do it again with his daughter. Yeah, it's awful story, and it's it's not just a weak headline for me. It's like Spider-Man's forever intertwined now with Ollie's story and Lloyd, the father, and stuff. So I'm not letting it go away. I'm not letting his memory be forgotten.
You said story for a week. Sorry to interrupt. You said they did allow an Iron Man tombstone.
Yeah. So not only do you
I didn't
have
know that
2 decades worth of just Disney, like Pooh, Mickey Mouse, whatnot, on tombstones, but you have like post Disney purchase Marvel characters on tombstones. So that's what's
Okay.
weird about this whole thing.
Yeah, it definitely. When I saw it, it was sad to hear. I do think they were being a little much. I mean, it's one of those things where I don't have a kid. I'm gonna be honest. I'm 20. I'm not old enough to have a kid, in my opinion, and I can't imagine losing a kid. And then something as simple as a Spider-Man on the tombstone. You know, if that's what your kid loved, I mean, geez, that kid never got to have a life. He never got to fall in love. He never got to go to school and be that cool kid or anything. He missed out on all that. He missed out on the things that we do have in life. I mean, life sucks, but it is life and it is beautiful. And his kid didn't get to have that. So it sucks that the father, in that pain, no parent should have to bury their own child, wasn't able to, just simply put a Spider-Man on his tombstone.
And the father was nice enough to actually ask Disney.
The fact that he reached out is a huge sign of respect and honestly the right thing to do. And one of the things that I've learned is that a lot of people have done this in the past, but they've never asked Disney for the permission. So it's kind of one of those things where they simply didn't know. And this guy having the heart enough to ask, I sure as fuck wouldn't have asked. I'm gonna be honest, I wouldn't have thought about it. My kid just died. Who the hell? Why do I care what you think?
It was kind of the rules of his town that has the gravestones. They have to, they do it and they're responsible for it. And they had to worry about Disney suing or something with it. So, yeah.
Well, damn. Yeah, sad situation. My heart goes out to the father, and I'll definitely check that out if you want to send me a link to that or something, because
no problem.
It's a sad thing, but it is something that I do think that people in time will forget, and Disney has a history of that. Disney is the reason the copyright laws are fucked the way they are on YouTube and around the world in general. They have so much control in things like this. Really show. It's sad that it's ironic that they say we're the happiest place on earth, we're all about the kids, but fuck you for trying to put Spider-Man on your gravestone because thanks for the good memories. If you want to meet Spider-Man, go meet his creator Stan Lee. I mean, it's a fucking dick.
And it's worse too because he has a daughter that had that same disease that he died. And, he was sick, recently, like really sick, to go to the hospital recently after he died, and like they had to go to the hospital. It's like, dude, that's the amount of mental stress.
Yeah, I can't imagine
doing that. And he's got 2 other kids also on top of it.
They got 4 others.
There are 4 others. Yeah, my bad.
The financial situation he's in. I mean, as well. I mean, that's
all right, guys. I don't know about you, but I need to get the hell off.
Yeah.
I am really getting
cool, man.
All right. Well, thanks for letting me hang out. I'll catch you guys next time.
Adios.
See you, man.
Thanks for coming, everybody. I don't know when we'll have our next War Council, but we'll keep you informed, and have a good rest of your day.